LaWanna Shurtliff was born and raised in Star Valley, Wyoming, and was the oldest of 5 children. The rural life made a positive influence during her early years. But as a teenager, she and her family were forced to face the tragedy of losing her father.
When I was a junior in high school, my father passed away. He had a stroke and died within a few hours, which was pretty sad for our family. We had 5 children. We were living in Brigham City at that time. We had come to Utah, and he was working in Utah. And so I was the oldest of 5 children, and my mother picked the 5 of us up and went back to Star Valley. And I ended up graduating from Star Valley High School because of that. What a great woman she was. She just, pulled herself up by her bootstraps. She supported the 5 of us. All of us had degrees. She was a strong woman. And we look back at a very sad time, but my gosh, what strength there was there.
Lou attended Utah State, where she met Bob Shurtliff, and the two were married in 1959. Bob was a Weber grad, and the young couple returned to Ogden, where Lou was hired by T.H. Bell to teach in Weber County junior high schools.
And of course, my job was to teach those children. They weren't sure that 9th graders could learn how to type, which is kind of interesting in our day and age. And they would test my students against the students at Weber High School. And I have to tell you, my students did very well. So it was exciting.
Although Lou loved teaching and had experienced success, she left teaching to be with her family, and she once again was faced with a heartbreaking personal tragedy.
When I knew I was expecting my first child, my mother had passed away. She was 45 years old. In fact, I lost both my father and my mother when they were 45. And so at that point, some of my brothers and sisters came to live with me.
When her 2 children and her younger siblings were old enough, Lou decided to return to teaching, and she accepted a position at Ogden High School.
As I started out, I taught English, and then as classes opened up in the business department, which was my major, I decided I would like to return to business, and so for many years I taught a little English, a little business. The final part of my year, I was basically in the business department.
During her 28-year career at Ogden High School, she became increasingly involved with the local, state, and national education associations. The increased responsibilities offered her many opportunities to influence policy and the future of public education.
I was elected president of the Ogden Education Association, and of course that threw me into the Utah Education Association. After I had served as president for Ogden, I sat on the board of the Utah Education Association, was elected there, and did have the privilege for 2 years to be the one director from Utah on the National Education Association board. Great experience. I was able to be in Washington about 4 times a year, met teachers nationwide, found out what was going on in other states. Tremendous background as far as education was concerned.
As she approached retirement, she completed her stint with the National Education Association and looked forward to spending more time with her family until she was asked to run for the Utah State Legislature.
When I decided to retire, I had a gentleman come to me and said, "I will run your whole campaign if you will run for the legislature." And I can remember saying to him, "Do you think I'm smart enough?" And he said, "Have you been down there lately?"
Although her first campaign was not successful, she reluctantly agreed to run for office again, where she won her bid as a state representative. She soon gained a reputation for being a tireless advocate for women, Head Start programs, and Utah's students.
Oh, you've seen me in committee meetings and that. I don't pull any punches. I just say how it is. I have fought tooth and toenail for things.
As a state representative, she was also known as an advocate of Weber State among her colleagues at the legislature.
I hope people understand in Ogden how highly thought of Weber State is. You sit in that legislature and Weber State comes in, and the legislators know what a great university this is. You don't have to sell Weber State. It sells itself, and it has been a pleasure to represent Weber State. And I think people ought to know that.
After spending a lifetime dedicated to learning, Lou has developed some very strong ideas about the importance of education.
I believe education is the answer to our problems in our nation. I'm talking about problems of poverty. I'm talking about problems of morality. I'm talking about, if an educated person sees broader, broadens their horizons, sees what's the potential, understands other people's values, we become very narrow. Education broadens what we do. And I just, John Adams made that statement, that we had to have, that education was the basis for our democracy. And I am such a believer in that.
Bearing the name and lineage of Weber's founder, we recognize LaWanna Shurtliff for her service to education, to our community, and to our nation, and recognize her as the 2009 recipient of Weber State's Louis W. Shurtliff Award.